Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film, Captain Phillips. Captain Phillips, who, with his ship, the Marisk, Alabama, was hijacked by Somali pirates back in 2009, and this film is based on the book he wrote about that experience, which was a major news story when it happened. Now, this is Paul Greengrass's documentary-style Hollywood thriller adaptation of that. And Paul Greengrass, who is most known for the kind of post-9/11 action movie style, has never used his milieu in such a great way as he does with Captain Phillips. In fact, I would actually say this is probably the strongest movie I've seen from him. I haven't seen everything by him, but from what I've seen, I think this is probably the best movie by him. But the interesting thing is when I watch Paul Greengrass, is he always has this aura of like an intelligent documentarian, and with his shaky cam and everything, and with his muted colors, like this is the smart man's action movie, or Tom Clancy Phillips material, really. And Greengrass doesn't really pretend to make complicated characters. He kind of does, but his direction is so disinterested in it, it's pretty obvious he isn't as interested in character. He's interested in thrills. This is really a Hollywood movie. And Greengrass, I think, is better at this when he's making a Hollywood movie. That's kind of his strength as a director. He's a Hollywood filmmaker, whether he wants to admit it or not. When Captain Phillips gets into like the thrilling hijacking sequences, the film really becomes alive. But early in the film, there's a scene with Tom Hanks and Catherine Keener, and it feels like Paul Greengrass is kind of not even that interested. He does it in a documentary style, but it feels more like so they could just bang it out so he could get back on the sea and do all the cool stuff with the Somali pirates, because that's more interesting to him. And a lot of the side characters just feel kind of almost like props. They feel very one-dimensional. The only real three-dimensional character is Captain Richard Phillips, played by Tom Hanks. He's probably the most well-developed, and he's not even that well-developed. He brings up a few things about his kids, but you don't really know him. If you get into like kind of the first mate of the ship, you barely know their personalities. And he doesn't cast big people in it. He mostly casts character actors, so you don't really get lost or even kind of somewhat care about them. Tom Hanks is using his incredible likability, so with the lack of character development Tom Hanks can really use to get you on Captain Phillips' side. They're trying to cutting between Tom Hanks' character and Muse. He's the leader of the Somali pirates, and at the beginning they try to show either side of them, like make this kind of like a cat and mouse thing about these two guys. But it kind of forgets about that, and then it brings it back at the very end, which is quite odd. I don't think Greengrass really cares about character. Normally I'd say that is a problem. It's kind of a problem just because you have to see these weaker parts of the movie. In the end, I think it works a lot better than it did at the beginning. But when you have the scenes with the Somali pirates, it's very thrilling, it's very exciting, and Greengrass shows that he has what it takes to make a really great Hollywood thriller. It's not really interested in being any bit political or even talk about the racial issues or the country issues or anything like that. It's really interested in being a very great Hollywood thriller, and it works very well. I was surprised how much I wasn't annoyed by the regular shaky cam stuff that Paul Greengrass does. It made everything more exciting, it made everything more thrilling, and it actually worked the way it's supposed to work. When you do have a camera be as a shaky cam, it's usually made to make things more tense, like jittery, so it's trying to mime the idea if you were actually there you'd feel like very panicked. And it really works in this, more so than I've seen a major Hollywood film do in a very, very long time. Usually when you use shaky cam, it's to cover up that you have bad staging or you don't really know how to shoot a scene. But Paul Greengrass, the cinematographer, Barry Aykroyd, seems to really know what he's doing with the camera. He's not just overly exciting scenes that don't need to be overly exciting. He's doing it very precisely. This film is kind of similar to Gravity in a lot of ways. I think Gravity is a much better film, but Captain Phillips is still very tense. It's a film you can really dive right into. That this film strives to be more is kind of its ultimate fault. I can complain about that, I can complain about character, but as soon as the scenes happen, it's really just a very tense thrill ride, and that's really what you want from Captain Phillips as an audience. When you think of this as a big Hollywood movie, it succeeds. Paul Greengrass is kind of interested in showing what happened, but he seems to not have that. There's no parts on the lifeboat or him and the Somali pirates are just sitting around waiting. It's really about the excitement. I mean, he cut that crap out. He doesn't need it. And that's the intelligence to what's going on behind Captain Phillips. They're just concerned with the thing that got you into the theater. So in that, it's very exciting. This is something that could have just been a crappy TV movie in lesser hands, just a recreation of a popular event. But Paul Greengrass really brings a very Hollywood showmanship direction to it that makes it come alive, that makes it exciting. And with a big movie star like Tom Hanks, who knows his way around a bigger production, knows how to get that relatability to work. It is kind of like Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, because you as an audience, you know him, you can relate to him. I know I like Tom Hanks, you like Tom Hanks, so you can follow him very well through that. He knows his weaknesses. I don't think he's really a storyteller in this film. If he was a real storyteller, he'd want to say something really about Captain Phillips. I know he kind of likes to do kind of just a matter-of-fact kind of things, but he's not really doing that. He's really presenting to you a big Hollywood thrill ride kind of a thing, but with Somali pirates, and with this real life event. He doesn't do kind of the book report idea of taking on a real event like a lot of directors do. He minimizes that. It feels like he took on a real life story and really adapted it to make it maximum excitement. This feels more like a movie that if it wasn't a hit, you'd be surprised it wasn't a hit, because it's very audience friendly. It was interesting when I watched it, because before, I'm not a fan of his. I am apprehensive about him, but it kind of made me realize while I was watching him, like, okay, he's a good Hollywood thrilling director, and this is him at his best at that. I'm not really insulting him or anything. I think it's just the documentary angle. It's a style point. He's not really trying to do the documentary thing. He's doing it in a stylish way. His view of documentary is a bare bones 60 Minutes news idea of that. I don't think he's going into the ethics of documentary. He's using it as a style surface way, and he's using it as a way a Hollywood movie does. And so this is a very well-made Hollywood movie with a great star. Don't mistake that because this is an important event ripped from the headlines, it's somehow an amazing important movie because of it. That was really more Zero Dark 30. This is more of like a big Hollywood movie, but it is a very good, thrilling, fun, exciting, get you really into it, have your heart-pounding Hollywood movie. So if you have seen Captain Phillips and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.